Howdy hookers. Today we're going to be making this wonderful snowflake coaster, finishing off our 12 days of coasters with, who wouldn't want a white Christmas? To get started with your snowflake coaster, you're going to need to create either a magic circle or a chain of 4 or a chain of 5 and join them together to create a ring. The way I create my magic circle is I pop the yarn over my fingers, wrapping it around and then bringing it over the front in a crisscross like this, holding onto it with my ring finger. I then take my hook, placing it under the underneath one, the one here, and picking up the yarn at the back, pulling it through and spinning it around like this to kind of create this teardrop shape, giving myself plenty of room so that I can then go back and pick up the same yarn at the back here, this one. And then can you see how I'm now spinning the hook down nicely so that I can pull it through, creating myself a slip knot. There is a more in-depth tutorial on how to create the magic circle linked above. So we're going to chain 1 and we're going to ignore this. This isn't going to count as a stitch. What we're going to do now is we're going to create what's called a cluster of 3 double crochets. So we start like a normal double crochet, and that we yarn over and we insert our hook, yarn over and pull back through, 3 loops on our hook. We yarn over and pull through the first 2, but we don't finish the stitch by yarning over and pulling through the second 2. What we do is we then create the beginning of another double crochet by yarning over, inserting our hook, yarning over back through, yarning over and pulling through 2. This should give us 3 loops on our hook. What we're then going to do is we're then going to yarn over and do that one more time. Insert our hook, yarn over, pull back through, yarn over and pull through 2. So what you've done is you've created the first part of 3 double crochets without doing that final step. So we've never completed the yarn over and pull through the final 2. And once you've done that 1, 2, 3 times, what you'll end up with is 4 loops on your hook. It is at this point you're then going to yarn over and pull through all of those loops. And what that has done is that's closed all of your double crochets together at the same time. You're then going to chain 3. And you're then getting a bit tongue-tied. You're then going to repeat the same thing with another 3 double crochet cluster. So yarn over, insert, pull back through, yarn over through the first 2 loops only, yarn over, insert, pull back through, yarn over the first 2, yarn over, pull back through the first 2 only, yarn over, insert your hook, pull back through, and then yarn over the first 2 only. 4 loops on our hook, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 4. We're then going to chain 3. And that, if I get myself some more yarn, is our cluster of 3 double crochets. So we'll try that again. So yarn over, insert for 3, yarn over and only pull through 2. Another double crochet, but only pulling through 2, and then another double crochet but only pulling through the first 2, so that we are left with 4 loops on our hook ready to close all 3 double crochets together, and then another chain of 3. And we're going to keep doing this until we've got 5 clusters with 5 chains of 3 in between. So yarn over, pull back through the first 2, again only through the first 2, only through the first 2, closing all 3 together, and then a chain of 3. So there we go, we've got 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, so we've got 1 more to go. So only pulling through the first 2. And there we have the final cluster. 1, 2, 3. And what I can now do is close my magic circle. with my obligatory magic circle closing sound effect. Okay, so once that's pulled nice and tight, as you can see, it's created this little flower effect which forms the centre of our snowflake. We're then going to slip stitch into the top, which is this larger stitch here. Can you see this larger one here? And we have completed that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into the chain 3 space. So we're going to slip stitch along into this chain 3 space here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3, and in this round the chain 3 is going to be a count as the first double crochet. So we're then going to place, and this is very similar to sort of a granny square setup. We're going to place 2 more double crochets next to that to create a group of 3 double crochets, like so. We're then going to chain 3, and we're going to place another 3 double crochets into the same space, and this is just normal groups of 3 double crochets, one next to the other. We're not joining them or anything like we did the row before. It's just 3 double crochets, a chain of 3 and another 3 double crochets. We're going to go into chain 1, and then into the next space you're going to do exactly the same, 3 double crochets, a chain of 3 and another 3 double crochets. Nice and simple. I'm going to get myself a little bit more yarn. So just keep going with that, 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet, and then we're doing a chain 1 in between each of these sections. So 1, 2, 3, and then another 3 double crochet. I can't actually believe this is the last coaster tutorial in the series. It's a little bit sad, isn't it, actually? I've put a poll up on the communities tab, actually, asking for your ideas of what you'd like to see tutorial wise in the new year. So I have actually put as one of the options more coasters, because there's a lot more coaster patterns we can certainly do, or if there's anything else you'd like to see. I know I've had one request for some crochet tips and tricks, and taking a look at things like blocking and stuff. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, then please let me know. So how are we getting on? So 3 double crochets in each of these sections, a chain of 3 and another 3 double crochet straight into the same section. And essentially it's going to create a pentagon. You're going to create that nice 5-sided pentagon shape. So we've just got one more to go. So yeah, please do let me know in the comments, chain of 1 in between, and then our final one, what you would like to see. And maybe a little bit coasted out, but my love for coasters will continue forever. In fact, I've actually been making some slightly different types of coasters, which I'll show you in a sec when we finish this round, because they're not even crochet coasters, I know. I probably should wait to show you this in my podcast, but I just needed to show you now. Look at this. I've actually had a go at making some resin coasters with some gold flaking. Very pretty. So once you have completed your 5 points with your 3 double, your chain of 3, your 3 double with a chain 1 in between, what you're going to do is you're going to chain 1 and then you're going to slip stitch to the top of that, like so. We're then going to slip stitch into the next stitch, like so, and then we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch, and then we're going to slip stitch into the chain 3 space. So we've just slip stitched all the way along these 3 stitches to get us comfortably into this one. I'm then going to chain 2, but again I'm not going to count these as part of my chain. I'm not going to count these as a first stitch. Oh, actually we are going to count these as a first stitch, scrap that. We've chained 2, but what we're going to do is we're going to do another cluster. So we only need to add 2 double crochets into this cluster. So we're going to yarn over, insert, can you remember, and only pull through 2. Yarn over, insert, only pull through 2. Now you'll only have 3 loops on your hook at this point because the first one again was made up of chains. So yarn over and pull through, and can you see we've got a nice little cluster of joined stitches. You're then going to chain 3, and it's going to be the same as the row below in that we have a group of 3 with a chain 3 and another group of 3 in each of our sections. However, the groups of 3 are these special clusters where we only go through the first 2 loops as part of that double crochet. You remember? So you're only going through the first 2, ending up with 4 loops on a hook and then pulling through all 4 together. So we've got the chain of 3, but we've got the clusters. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do a little extra bit on the side. Can you see here, before we get to the point, we've got this side, and what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, and then in this small chain 1 space here, and we will have 5 of them on each side, we're going to place 1 double crochet. Okay, and then we're going to chain 1. And now we're at a point, we're going to create that special cluster of 3 double crochets. So only going through the first 2 loops. Only going through the first 2. I've actually dropped a little bit of my stitch. There we go. Only going through the first 2. Yarning over and pulling through all 4 at the same time to complete that cluster with a chain of 3 in between. So we've got another cluster to pop in there, so double crochet but only the first half of it. The first half of it, a bit more yarn, double crochet just the first, and then yarn over through all 4. There we go. So we're now onto a side. So for the sides we're going to chain 1, double crochet into that chain 1 space, chain 1, and then we're onto another point. So that's those double crochet clusters. Essentially it's 3 double crochet together if you are reading it in a written pattern. That's what that counts as. Chain of 3, another 3 double crochet together, and then close all 3 together. Perfect. So onto a side, which is a chain 1, a double crochet into that chain 1 space, and another chain 1, and then for the corner we are double crocheting 3 together, there we go, with a chain of 3 in between. I was worried actually that my kitten was going to make an appearance on the last video. It would be only fitting that she turns up on the last video, but I think she's gone off to explore downstairs, so we might be spared that interruption. Okay, we're on to our penultimate side, so chain 1, double crocheting into that chain 1 space below, and a chain 1, and then the final corner. Just going to get myself some more yarn so I don't have to keep stopping every few seconds. There we go. Okay, so the final point is double crochet 3 together, a chain of 3, and double crochet another 3 together. And then chain 1, double crochet into that side, that chain 1 space, a chain of 1, and then what we're looking to do is we're looking to slip stitch this into the top of that chain 3 together, which will be this larger stitch. Can you see on the top? We're going to slip stitch into that. Now at this point, yes, it might look like a little mushroom because this will require some blocking. This certainly isn't one that's going to be flat straight away. In fact, this one, I definitely had to spray it with some water and flatten it out. And it's simply because of, one, we've got the clusters of stitches, and the clusters are wanting to kind of group together in a little clam. Think of it like a little clam. So once they are all nicely flattened, you shouldn't have an issue with that. So for the final round, we're going to be placing single crochets followed by some picots. Now, if you're familiar with the French term, potentially you might have done cross stitch or embroidery. It's essentially creating these little bobble effects here on the top for the little points. Now, if you've never done them before, they can be a bit tricky. It will require you to kind of maneuver your hook pardon me, slightly differently, but we'll take it nice and steady and we'll see how we get on. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to place a single crochet into that chain 3 space, like so. And then off that we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we need to slip stitch into the single crochet that we came out of. So the way that you're going to want to do that is you're going to want to spin your hook round and actually place it back into the single crochet. Now this may feel unfamiliar because you're thinking, well, I'm going to have to go back on myself because, you know, it's here. And that's exactly what you're going to do. I actually tip it up like this so that I'm not in my work isn't facing that way. I actually tip it up so that my chain follows along my hook so that I can pop my hook in here, and then I can slip stitch quite nicely, and then I'm back up and ready to go. So we're going to place another single crochet straight next to it. Can you see how that's worked out? And we're going to chain 4 to create a slightly bigger one in the centre. 3, 4. So just tip it up on its side, place your hook into the single crochet, yarn over, pull through, and I actually grab hold of it with my thumb so that I can quite easily slip stitch through, creating my little bobble. So let's place another single crochet into that chain of 3, and we're going to place chain 3 for another little one next to it. Tip it up on its side, pop your hook straight into the top of that single crochet, pull through, grab hold of your chain and pop through. And there, if we take a look, can we see in this chain 3 space we've got one made of a chain 3, one made of a chain 4, ooh, my hook was like hello, and another one made of a chain 3. Okay, so we're then going to single crochet into the top of our double crochet 3 together below. We're going to single crochet into the chain 1 space next to it, and then we're going to single crochet into this double crochet that's sitting on its own. And then out of this we're going to create ourselves another chain 3 picot. Okay, so don't forget, instead of struggling thinking how do I get back to there, just tip it on its side, pop your hook into your single crochet and pull back through, holding on and slip stitching, and then place a single crochet straight into that chain 1 space next to it. There we go. So a single crochet into the next cluster, a single crochet over into this chain 3 space, and that brings us nicely to our next point. And we're going to do exactly the same thing as we did with this. We've got 3 single crochets to form our base, and out of those 3 single crochets we'll be creating a picot on each one. This one with a chain of 3, this one with a chain of 4, and this one with a chain of 3. So we've created our first single crochet here. We're going to chain 3. We're going to slip stitch back into the base of that single crochet, and then we're going to place another single crochet straight next to it. We're now going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to slip stitch straight back into the base of that single crochet, and we're going to place another single crochet next to it, and this time we're going to only chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, turn it on its side, slip stitch into the base of that single crochet, and voila, you have created another point. So single crochet into the next stitch, which is the top of that double crochet 3 together, single crochet into that next chain 1 space, and then single crochet into that next double crochet that's sitting on its own. And here we place our little tiny picot, which is a chain 3 one. So slip stitch back into the base of that single crochet, single crochet into the next space, single crochet into the next. Ooh, I've got my hook in a twizzle there. So we're single crocheting into the next double crochet group of 3, and then single crocheting into the next chain 3 space. You're essentially single crocheting into every stitch all the way around, whether it's a space or a 3 double crochet together or a double crochet on its own. And every point we have this little group of 3, and every side we have just a little solo one on its own. So we're on to our third point. So it's a chain of 3, slip stitch into the base, tipping it on its side if you're finding it difficult, and holding on as you slip stitch with your thumb and your finger. Single into the next. Get myself a little bit more yarn, and then this one is a 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Slip stitching into the base of that single crochet, single crochet next to it, chain of 3, slip stitching into the base, so single crochet into that chain 3 cluster, single crochet into that chain 1 space, single crochet into that double crochet, and a chain 3 picot. Okay, slip stitching back into the base of the chain of the single crochet, another single crochet into the chain one space. There's a lot of single crochets I'm saying here. Single crochet into that double crochet cluster of 3, and then single crochet into that chain 3 space, and we're on to another corner, okay, or point rather. I think that rumbling is my heating has just come on. Hooray! So 1, 2, 3. Don't forget tipping it on its side if you need to, so that you can get into the single crochet for your slip stitch, and then a single crochet straight after, so that we can chain 1, 2, 3, 4, slip stitching into the base. Sometimes it's a bit fiddly, but yeah, there we go. And then the last one, which is our chain of 3, then slip stitching straight into the base. So a single into the next stitch, which is my cluster, a single into the next, which is my chain 1 space, a single into the next, which is my double crochet. We've got a picot here, don't forget, that's a chain 3 one. And then a single crochet into the chain 1 space, a single crochet into the 3 double crochet together cluster. I just need to be careful there because I split my stitch a little bit, there we go. And then a single crochet into my final point. Okay, so we've got one more point to go. So the first one is a chain of 3, slip stitching into the base, and then single crocheting next to it. Okay, I didn't think I'd get through all that yarn that I've pulled. A little bit more. And you say, look, hello, it's like a little hat. Don't worry, it will go back down. Okay, so we need to chain 4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, slip stitch into, turning on the side if you need to. I find it so much easier. Single crochet, chain of 3, 1, 2, 3, slip stitch back into that single crochet, and then single crochet into that cluster below, single crochet into the chain 1 space, single crochet into the lone double crochet, that little lone wolf, and the final picot goes in here, which is a chain 3 picot, just a little BB one. So slip stitching back into the base of that single crochet, single crochet into the chain 1 space next to that, and then all that's left to do is to slip stitch to this stitch here, which is the stitch that we did our original picot out of. So slip stitch into there. I'm going to fasten off. I'm going to wrap my yarn around and pull it through, pulling that tight, and there we go. Can you see? We have now completed. So this is what it'll look like when it's blocked, and this is what it will look like when it's not. That should be my thumbnail. Ta-da! For when I do my blocking video. Do not worry, do not think you've gone wrong and it's all a massive mess. It is honestly just the way that it is created. All you need to do is just gently smooth it from the centre, pop it on a towel, spray it with a little bit of water, and then just start pulling your 5 points out. You can pin it if you want to. I didn't pin this. I just gently sprayed it. Just don't iron it. It'll completely flatten any shape. But can you see, even by pressing it without any water, you can see it started to gain shape. However, it's nowhere near as big as this one, and they are exactly the same yarn and the same hook. Pardon me. And that wraps up 12 days of coasters with your final snowflake, or sort of, yeah, it's like a snowflake star coaster. Now, I don't know how true this snowflake is, because technically aren't all snowflakes symmetrical, although actually it is symmetrical like this, isn't it? But I always thought that snowflakes had 6 points, but still, a 5-pointed snowflake will do just absolutely fine. I'd love to see your creations. You can tag me on Instagram at crochetingtea, and I will share on my stories all the creations I'm tagged in, because I'm just so proud and so pleased that you've joined me on this journey of 12 days of coasters. So have a wonderful Christmas, have a wonderful time with your family if you're able to see them, and I will see you in the new year for lots more crocheting and lots more drinking tea. Happy hooking, and I'll see you soon. Bye.